We have been on over 30 cruises, and recently we tried our first transatlantic cruise. This is now one of our favorite types of cruises. In this video, we will discuss what we learned taking our first cruise and help with what to consider in booking yours.
Hi y'all, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Becky.
And together we're cruising a good time. We love to cruise, and when we took our first transatlantic cruise, we loved that cruise. And it was really amazing how different that was than all the other cruises we've been on. In this video, we're going to tell you what those differences are, what we loved about the cruise, and things to look for when you go to pick a transatlantic cruise. The topics we're going to be discussing on this video are the timing of the transatlantic cruise, selecting the best transatlantic routing and itinerary, the cost and duration of the cruises, selecting the best cruise ship and cruise line for your enjoyment. This is based on ship design and also on entertainment, who typically sails on these cruises, and the differences we discovered on dress nights on these cruises.
Let's get started with the first subject, and that is the timing of these cruises. So during the wintertime, there's extra cruise ships in the Caribbean, so people could take advantage of warm weather and getting away from the cold. Come spring, they start moving these ships to other places. So they'll move many of them over to Europe, so they can do Mediterranean cruises, cruises around the British Isles, cruises to Norway, Baltic Sea cruises. So this is a great opportunity to cross the Atlantic. Typically, these occur in March and April. And then come the fall, they'll start moving them back over to the Caribbean, usually October, November, maybe the first week of December.
And that leads us into our next category, which is the itinerary of the journey. And there's really two different routings that if you look at these transatlantic cruises, they take. They take a southern routing, which goes between basically Florida and Europe, and that will hit the Azores Islands, typically the Canary Islands, Africa in some cases, and some areas like that. Then there's a northern route too that a lot of cruise ships will take. That'll go through Iceland, Greenland, Canada, and go up and down the United States East Coast. Those are both great itineraries. Pick one that you like the best. And our first transatlantic cruise, we picked it largely based on the itinerary. It went from Rome to Fort Lauderdale, and it had a stop in Morocco, so we were able to check the continent of Africa off our check boxes of continents we visited. And it went all the way down to the Cape Verde Islands, which is very south, very remote, and we thought it was very cool to catch up a destination like that.
And one of the things I loved about it is that it was warm enough that the Lido deck was just a fabulous place to hang out on sea days. It was warm. There was a lot of different fun things the cruise staff did. You could swim. It was really, really fabulous. Where some of the people I know who have done the more northern crossing weren't really comfortable out in the pool area. But anyway, it was a great cruise. Loved the itinerary. Loved the pool area.
And they're great, like I said, they're great itineraries for picking up some of these more remote destinations that normally cruise itinerary wouldn't go to.
Yeah, we were super excited to go to Morocco and those Cape Verde Islands.
One little footnote on all that, our oldest daughter took a transatlantic cruise, fell in love with the Azores Islands on that transatlantic cruise, so much so she came on and talked about it. Our youngest daughter went over and spent a whole week in the Azores Islands just based on the older sister's recommendation. So it's a good way to get to know some new destinations on these cruises.
Yeah, and I love going to these out-of-way places, like I've always wanted to go to Gibraltar. Next subject is cost. And one of the best things about a transatlantic cruise is the cost. You can find cruises for less than $100 a day. And I love a good deal. And then in addition to that, if you're already in Europe for some other reason, you can perhaps find a transatlantic cruise to come home. One of our good friends, we did a Mediterranean cruise with them. We had to fly home. They stayed on the ship, and they paid less money overall for transportation to Europe than we did. And they had 2 fabulous weeks in a transatlantic cruise.
A lot better time and a lot better food than sitting all that time in an airplane crossing the Atlantic compared to being on a ship crossing the Atlantic. You're right. There's just some fantastic bargains out there on that. And just keep your eye open for that if you're doing some other cruises. Because you're going to be on the ship for a long time, all these cruises are at least 2 weeks long. Some may be 3 weeks long. And the crossing itself is anywhere from 5 to 7, even 8 days in a row of sea days. And I love sea days, mind you. That's a lot of sea days in a row. it does get a little bit more like the movie Groundhog Day after a while. If you wake up, there's another sea day, there's another sea day. So it's important to pick a ship that works into what you want to do on a cruise ship.
Yeah, so this is such a big topic. Jeff and I could talk about this topic for hours, but we're going to give just a few highlights here for you to consider. So, one of which is, man, if you're one of those folks who love to have the slides and rock climbing walls, maybe go-karts while you're at sea, then you should consider cruise lines like Royal Caribbean, Carnival, or Norwegian Cruise Line.
So if you like to get down and have a lot of enrichment talks and in-depth and port guides and all that, and really good entertainment too, in our opinion, you should pick Holland America or Princess Cruise Lines because we think they excel at both of those categories.
I also believe that they have the best live music on any of the cruise ships. So if these are things that interest you, well, you may want to check our video where we have Princess versus Holland America so you can learn a little bit more detail about either of these lines. If you're looking for relaxed upscale luxury, you may want to take a look at Celebrity.
Look at the Virgin Cruise Lines if you're looking for kind of some vibrant nightlife and all that, but adults only situation. That may be one for you to consider. In fact, we'll talk about it later in the video. That's going to be our next transatlantic cruise is on the Scarlet Lady.
If you're bringing kids with you, that's an important thing to consider. So everybody we mentioned, well, with the exception of Virgin, have kids club programs. And I know our children really enjoyed those on Princess, Carnival, and Royal Caribbean. But like if they're a little older in their teenage years, they may want to be around other kids more. So maybe I'd give a nod to doing one of these like Royal Caribbean, Carnival, or Norwegian Cruise Line.
The next category we're talking about is kind of the demographics on it. We get a lot of questions about the demographics on these transatlantic cruises. And because they're longer cruises, they're always 14 or longer days, and they typically happen, like Becky mentioned, in the fall or the spring during school season, it does just lead to an older crowd to be on it. What I discovered on our first one, I was really underestimating how well traveled everybody was on this cruise. I was sitting in a hot tub, and the guy just visiting with the guy next to me there, and he asked, well, where did you get on? I said, well, I got on in Rome. I said, how about yourself? He goes, oh, I got on 45 days ago in London, and I'm not getting off in Fort Lauderdale. I'm going all the way over to Los Angeles through the canal after this. And they just do these back-to-back cruises on that. And it's the most seasoned cruisers, most seasoned travelers I've ever been around. The Elite Lounge was very full on that transatlantic cruise.
Absolutely. And many of them have been on many different cruise lines and a lot of different land trips. Like you'll be talking to somebody, and the one I remember is like, oh, on my second African safari, I did this, and on my third. So anyway, they're very nice, and it's very fun to chat with all the other passengers on the cruise.
Yeah, I encourage you to network about that because you get up some good ideas about how to travel or what to look for and some different things like that. And that's what we're going to be doing the next time we cross the Atlantic. We'll talk about that here in a minute, how we're doing a side-by-side cruise on our next crossing.
One of the biggest surprises for me was how people dress on formal night. Boy, people really dressed up. They looked so sharp. And it's not just because it's an older demographic. We saw people of all ages, and the young people looked very, very sophisticated and sleek. And I'd brought some very nice dresses, but I was wishing I'd brought my most glamorous dresses. Next time, I'm bringing some gowns.
So to kind of wrap things up, and I kind of stole my own thunder here a little bit with some of the teasing I did earlier in the video, but Becky, would you do another transatlantic cruise again?
Oh, well, absolutely. And in fact, we've already booked one. We are going to be in Europe. We're going to do the inaugural cruise on the Star Princess, and it's sailing to and from Barcelona. So we'll hang out in Barcelona for a day, and then we're going to catch the Scarlet Lady on Virgin.
Yeah, and she's going to take us back across the Atlantic all the way to Miami and hit Africa again and the Canary Islands and Azores Islands. So it'll be a lot of fun.
We are really looking forward to this cruise.
Be sure to check out our channel. We have a lot of information out there. We have playlists on ships and cabin tours. We evaluate packages on board the different cruise lines, and then a lot of destinations such as the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, and Alaska. A lot of information there. Please give us a look.
We hope you've enjoyed this video.
If you like the video, please give us a like and subscribe, and make sure those notifications are turned on. It really helps us out.
Until next time, have a cruising good time.